What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another wonderful day. Today we are doing legs. Love a good leg day. Starting legs off, got a few dynamic stretches in. Just kind of warmed up the hips, warmed up the joints, and then hopped over on the leg extension here. Now on this leg extension machine, I did start with one leg at a time. I like starting with unilateral movements, especially with legs. I'm going to make sure we're getting everything nice and fired up and ready for some big movements. We are going heavy today, and the focus, even though we're starting off with, getting the quads warmed up, the focus today is going to be hamstrings and glutes. So we're going to get started here with some quads, make sure they're fired up and ready to go, and then pretty much the rest of the workout is going to be the outer part of the legs and the hamstrings and the glutes. So just a couple of warm-up rounds with one leg, and then jump straight into some working sets here. About half stack. And we're just trying to get some blood pumping. Worked on some range of motion on the previous leg day, so trying to get a full range of motion out of the first few reps, and then it's really just about pumping some blood into the legs. Keeping a good posture in this seat is a bit of a challenge as well. I like to make sure to keep my butt nice and planted in the seat, and use the grips as much as I need to, but definitely not let my back and shoulders and arms take over, and really just let the legs do all the work here. I think I finished this set off at about 190 pounds. So not quite full stack, but we're getting close. Here we go. Here's the last set, I believe. So went 12, 10, 8 on these. 12 to get the blood pumping and really find that range of motion. 10 to find my weight, and then 8 to really execute here. These started to get a little heavy here towards the end. Just banging out some partials, and we're done. On over to hamstring curls. Again with this machine, starting one leg at a time, and had to make a quick adjustment. Again, nothing wrong with making adjustments. Find what's comfortable, and find what's going to give you the perfect or as good of a range of motion as you can get. Now with this machine, again, you want to make sure that the back's not taking over. This should be all glute, all hamstring, pulling that weight up. I feel that if my lower back is starting to take over, or if that fires first before my glutes or my hamstrings, I am using way too much weight, and that's okay. Just got to back it off and keep warming it up. Next leg. I just busted out 10 reps for the warm-up set here, each leg. And then jumped in some working sets. Again, 12, 10, 8 on these. I don't know if you guys are working out in a gym with me, or if you're working out at home, but if you're working out in a gym and you have a hamstring machine, I've seen some with the that you actually sit in and you curl your legs. I like those. I kind of wish my gym had one of these, but it's okay. It's all right, because this one definitely does its job. Whether that be you're finishing off your hamstrings, or you're just starting off like I am here and getting them fired up, getting them warmed up, it's great. Now again, trying to not let my back fire here. Letting the glutes, letting the hamstrings do all the work. starting to feel that set. Kind of slid down off the machine there. All right. I believe this is our last working set over here. Got a set of 8. If you're going with me, this is your set to go heavy, so go a little heavy here. Another thing is to not let that weight drop. You want to make sure you're lowering it as slow as possible and controlled as possible. With this machine in particular, you know, if your settings aren't right or your adjustments aren't right, you can really overextend your knees, and that's not fun. We did have one more set. Okay. Well, anyways, another angle for you here. Another thing I like to focus on with this particular movement is making sure I'm driving from my heels. So again, just mind a joint connection here, pretending that somebody is pulling me back from my heels. Like that is where the driving force is coming from. That's where all the energy is coming from. And energy's about spent there. All right, after warming up, heading on over to the Smith machine here. Now the heat was on in the gym today, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. So my hands were a little sweaty, and that is gonna come into play pretty heavily here in just a second. I had the bar pulled way back, and the safety was a little too far back for me to be able to twist it back forward. But aside from that, I am loving this particular setup. You can see underneath my feet I have a platform set up, so I'm actually raised up off the ground about, we'll say 6 to 8 inches. Yeah, right here. I got stuck. Ask for a little assistance, and we're back on. Nice. Didn't make the same mistake again. As you can see, I got my straps, and that safety is not nearly as far back as it was. And for good reason, because I loaded up some pretty heavy weight. Got a couple of plates on each side. Making sure to get a real nice deep stretch here. And with raising that platform, raising your feet up, you can really get a nice deep stretch here in the hamstrings and back into the glutes. Different angle for you. On this angle, you can kind of see, I don't know if anybody out there uses straps or has ever used them before, but if you have not, this is a nice little tutorial on how to use them. As you can see there, I started with my less dominant hand and used my other hand to kind of help it out, and you kind of just wrap them around the bar there, and I use my hands to twist and get them a little bit tighter, and then roll my hands forward to be able to get that safety back and get a nice neutral grip on it. This was pretty heavy. We were up to about 275 pounds here. Again, went 12, 10, 8 working sets on this one. And I did shed some weight on this set just to be able to get those last few reps in there. Nothing wrong with changing your weight. I don't always like to change my weight halfway through a set, but if I feel like I got a little bit more left in me, that's what I'm gonna do. Nothing wrong with working a little bit harder. Call it extra credit. All right, again, nice twist, hands forward. Up. I did throw my belt on for this last one just to keep my form right. I did start to feel it a little bit in my lower back, so just for safety and for form purposes, threw the belt on and busted out my last 6 reps here. Do you guys prefer the Smith machine or a regular squat rack. I like to bounce back and forth, just depending on the day or what's available in the gym. For those deep stretches, the Smith machine has been pretty spectacular. All right, next exercise, we moved over to the leg press. Now the leg press, we are doing one leg at a time. And this machine in particular, I think is somewhere between 160 and 170 pounds. And I always forget that every time I go to do this. So I went in headstrong and immediately remembered how heavy this was. So the focus was to keep the heel planted, pushing off my heel, and really working those hamstrings, quads, sides of the legs, a little bit of the soleus and gastroc, calves, everything getting hit on this one. I see a lot of people loading this thing up with weight, and I mean, that's cool if you can do that, but try it one-legged. It's very honest. It makes you very, very honest, and if you have any imbalances in between legs, this is a great way to work them out. I did do one more, we'll say, warm-up set on this. I started over on the left side on this one because the left side was feeling a little weak, and it wasn't really weak in my knee, but the muscles didn't really seem like they wanted to fire quite as much as I wanted them to. So again, working on just working out any imbalances. I got the same imbalances, that other people struggle with. So if you guys are working on some imbalances out there and you're still working on this workout with me, appreciate it. And we got about halfway through this. This thing is pretty heavy, and we're gonna push it. We actually do two different exercises here, so we're gonna start with this unilateral leg press, and then we'll move to some calves. All right, first working set, just throw a couple of 25s on each side. I like to get my feet nice and even first, push the weight up, and then drop the foot down, plant it into the ground, and start repping them out. This part of the workout is always a big mental test because, this is not an easy movement. And, if you've had any sort of back injury or, I've dealt with my own sorts of injuries in the past, it can be a little scary, not gonna lie. It can be a little scary to push weight, whenever you've dealt with injuries in the past, but, start light, work your way up, one leg at a time, work up to two legs, work on your imbalances. All right, went crazy and threw a plate on each side for the last set. Got 6 on the right side, and probably should have stopped at 5 because definitely failed on the left side, and that's okay. Sometimes you fail, and that's okay. You gotta test yourself and find where your limits are, and that's why we show up, guys. That is why we show up, to test ourselves, find our limits. All right. Moving on from that. I'm sure you're glad to be done with those. We're going to work some calves. Now on the same machine, we just loaded up a little bit more weight. And starting off here, I was just kind of playing around with it, foot position, and figuring out what worked best for me. Ended up moving my feet pretty low, letting my heels kind of drop off the back of the thing, and then getting a nice squeeze up. For calves, I like to go pretty heavy on calves with a little bit of extra volume. So for these sets, I went 15, 12, 10, 8, and 6. So a little bit extra volume, and then a lot of weight down towards the bottom, the 8 and the 6 reps. Now, as you can see, I'm getting a little bit of bounce in. Typically, I would avoid any sort of bounce, but my knees felt pretty good, and it was helping me get a little bit of extra stretch on the calves that I don't normally get. This is our set of 10 here. This was pretty heavy. Again, the machine itself is about 165 or 167 pounds. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but we ended up loading some pretty heavy weight on this, and the calves were feeling it afterwards. This is later tonight by the time I'm posting this video, and I'm gonna be honest with you, they're still feeling it in a good way. We did some work on them, and that's good. That's okay. A little bit of debate between working to be sore and working to failure and working to rep count, and choosing what works best for you. You don't always have to go to failure. There is some science out now, and I feel like it backs it up a little bit, that going to failure every single time is it's beneficial in some areas, but maybe just saying I'm going to hit 10 reps here and really pushing each and every rep all the way up to 10 is worth it. That's okay. All right, guys, right here towards the end of the workout. These last couple supersets, I did a slow motion RDL with some dumbbells with a pause at the bottom and a fast twitch up. Now the fast up, I was really conscious on not overextending my back. I wanted to keep a nice flat posture, flat back, making sure my scapula stayed rounded. It's easy to kind of over tweak that and injure yourself. So if you're doing that one, start light, work your way up. Supersetted this one with a sumo deadlift, the 1 1/4 squat. So went down and then came up about a quarter, dropped back down, and then back up. Down, quarter, down, back up. Really just trying to finish off the back of the legs and the glutes here. If you're still with me, proud of you. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Hope you've enjoyed the workout. I really enjoyed today's workout. Whenever I first got into the scene, obviously for different people, you want to hit different body parts. And again, like I was coming out of an injury, so working my lower half was always kind of iffy for me. But after putting years in and really focusing on range of motion, mobility, stretching, squeezing, not ego lifting, being smart, setting a good foundation, now allows me to be able to make moves like this and not worry about injuring myself. It looks like it hurts, but I was actually having a really good time here. This felt great. Do you guys ever focus on any tempo work? If so, what sort of movements do you do, and where do you apply the tempo? I always like slowing down the eccentric and really concentrating the speed in the concentric portion of the movement. Last round of these. Really finishing off everything we got here. Now, if you know me, you know I love a good burnout, so we will have a burnout at the end of this routine. Really polish off everything you got left in the tank. Here we go. For the burnout, doing jump squats. So I just grabbed a couple of 15-pound dumbbells and hit it for 1 minute. 1 minute of jump squats. Now this is the time in the workout, guys, where you gotta remind yourself why you show up. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Is it to be healthier? Is it to feel better? Is it to look better? Have a better aesthetic? Whatever it is for you, let that be your motivation. Let that be your grind. Let that be why you show up every day. I know a minute of jump squats at the end of a workout like this isn't fun for anybody. I certainly wasn't super excited about doing it, but I knew that the end result will always be worth it. Anything hard will always be worth it, guys. And with that,